Tubes and Wires, Part 8. The Folder. You jolted awake and sat up in a panic. Your frightened from shuddered with a choppy breath as a cold sweat ran down your face. You looked to your side and almost screamed when you saw Ennard sat next to your bed. He was sleeping. You blankly stared at him for a few seconds and laid back down, making yourself back to back with the animatronic clown. His presence calmed you massively due to how scared you now were from the horrible dream or nightmare that you had just witnessed. Why such a terrible thing would creep into your mind, you didn't exactly know, but it felt so real in a way you've never had such a vivid dream before. And why was Baby the fuel to the nightmare? Why did you even ask for an ice cream cone? She's an animatronic, not an ice cream maker. You then sat up and looked at the alarm clock on your dresser. It read 4:29 a.m. You gave a relieved sigh and sat at the thought that would soon be the time for everyone to wake up, that you wouldn't be alone. You wanted to wake Ennard, but he was snoozing away so peacefully. It made you smile. After about 15 minutes of trying back to back to sleep, you decided to get up and walk around. Maybe that would make you tired, or at least keep you occupied until it was wake-up time. Ennard shifted in his sleep and eased out of bed and crept over to your dresser. You quietly dug out through the drawer and pulled out an Oreo bar for a quick breakfast snack. Then you fed your fish and Kevin and even some more food, as well as changing out of your water dripper. The hamster was still snoozing away in his hidey-out house. After you changed into your day clothes and put on your slippers, you quietly exited your room, and you shivered at your chilly air as it hit you on your skin. You also wondered why Ballora's gallery was cold all the time. Maybe the ballerina didn't like cold, like germs. The thought of the Ballora made you sigh. You knew that Unido and Lullabit were going to fix her, but it still pained you to rethink of what caused her to need repairing. A distant giggle snapped you from your thoughts, and you freeze in your place. Hello? You quietly shouted. No one answered. Cautiously glanced around the dark gallery, trying to find the source of the giggle. Suddenly, a pair of small purple eyes lit up a few yards away from you. You esteemed that you being was at least 4 feet tall. Under a pair of small yellow eyes blinked to life under the first pair. Monster was the first thing that you crossed your mind. Not bothering to scream, you fearfully dashed off into the dark. As you neared the power module event, you heard a small female voice call after you. Wait, where are you going? You didn't stop to find out if there were things or friendly or not. You just scrambled into the vent and scurried into the control module, where there was light. You then ran over to the gallery and looked through the window to see if you were being followed. Like you would be able to tell if it did or not. You stood silent and then backed away from the window as you caught your breath. The thing didn't follow you after all. With relief, you closed your eyes and sat on the floor and then rubbed your throbbing knees. You're surprised that your kneecaps were still intact due to how fast and how hard you were crawling through the vent. But you were safe, and that was all that mattered. But for how long? Your eyes shot open as you heard her crawling in the vent. It was quickly getting closer to you, and you began to panic. But what were you expecting to see? Was way off. A small animatronic, about 2 feet tall, popped his head from the vent. His design looked like a baby with yellow eyes. He looked at you and smiled. Then a second voice interrupted the moment. A female voice. Babe, move. I want to see her, too, you know. The yellow-eyed animatronic was then shoved out of the vent and replaced by a similar one that had purple eyes. Oh, wow. Ennard was white. She is pretty, the purple-eyed minitronic said as she crawled out the vent. Her comment made you blush. Ennard thought you were pretty. Were you two chasing me? You asked as you stood up. Then the minitronic looked at each other and then smiled. We were just trying to meet you, and that's all. We didn't mean to scare you. The golden-eyed one apologized. Yeah, sorry about that, the purple-eyed one added. You gave an understanding nod as they continued. Allow me to introduce ourselves. My name is Biddy, and this is my best friend Bab. We're the Biddy Babs of the circus Baby Pizza World, Biddy said as they both stood and shook your hands. Oh, well, it's nice to meet the two of you, you said, Biddy nodding her head and smiled. Well, we know, Ennard told us a lot about you. Bab then added, All good things, all good things. You giggled at his frozen reference. Wait a minute, Ennard. You can't talk. Talk? How do you two understand what he's saying? Or trying to say? You asked. Well, me and Biddy here, as well as other animatronics, have a sensor in our mechanisms that allow us to translate disoriented speech. Like static, for example. We can pick up radio waves and understand what it's saying. Bab explained. You gave an expression nod. But Ennard's pretty self-explanatory. You can usually tell what he means by his movements and by the sounds he makes. Biddy added. Yeah, that's how I understand what he's saying, you giggled. You talked to Biddy Bab for about an hour, all of you getting to know each other and becoming friends. Biddy then looked at you and Circus Baby clock that was on the wall and noticed the time. Oh, it's already 5 o'clock, she said. You looked back at the clock and realized it was 5 o'clock already. Sorry to cut our conversation short, but we need to get back to the circus control room before Baby finds out that we were wandering around this early. Bab said. You smiled, gave an understanding nod that the two headed to the first vent. Then you waved bye to you, and then you made a long crawl back to where Baby stays. It was 5:16. The Biddy Babs had left, leaving you in the power module. You still had more than half an hour before everyone to wake up, so you decided to plunder around the filling cabinets, kind of interest yourself. You walked over to one that had the weird baby-like heads on it. Opened the bottom drawer. There were some tools and screws in it. You closed it and then checked out the top drawer. It was full of rusty machine parts. This thing needs to be cleaned out, you said to yourself as you closed the drawer and then walked over to the filing cabinet. You frowned as you noticed the filing lock on the bottom drawer. Getting an idea, you walked back over to the first filing cabinet and found a paper clip in one of the drawers. This should do the job, you whispered as you bent the paper clip and worked it through the lock. A small click was heard, signaling that your plan had succeeded. You forced the drawer open only to be met with nothing in it. You frowned in dismay as you shut the drawer. But something on the bottom of it cut your finger, making you flinch, feeling under the cabinet again. You felt a folder of some sort. You carefully pulled the folder out the bottom drawer, and was immediately met with a surprise. But the folder was a sort of thick paper that was printing on the side label that read, Afton Robotics. You curiously opened the folder and lit up with a shock. There were blueprints of animatronics, Funtime Freddy to be exact. You took the papers out and skimmed through them. Actually, there were blueprints of every animatronic, except Ennard. You went through the pages again, being sure you didn't miss anyone's blueprints, but you still could not find one for Ennard. One question flooded your mind. Why didn't Ennard have a blueprint? He's part of the Circus Baby Pizza world, right? Even Nintendo and Lollipop had blueprints. You then found a picture of the control module. One thing caught you off guard. There was a white clown with a mask hanging on the front wall. The same mask that Ennard wears. You looked above the big fan and didn't see it there. It wasn't even there before Funtime Freddy got into the fight with Ennard and broke the mask. Why did he wear it if he doesn't need it? Unito doesn't wear a mask and he's an endoskeleton. You whispered to yourself as you continued going through the papers. Another thing caught your attention, something horrible. While you read the description of the blueprints, you realized that your dream could be real. Baby actually had an ice cream dispenser in her torso, the same place where you had gotten dragged into your nightmare. A cold chill ran through you at the thought of that. You then kept going through the papers until another picture caught your eye. It was one of a man in a purple suit who was standing in a dark room, facing away from the camera. Upon closer inspection of the picture, you could notice a pair of blue eyes glaring into the distance, looking at the man. Whoever the eyes belonged to, they were standing behind two large, faint windows. Those must be Funtime Freddy's eyes, you said quietly. Looking at the clock, you realized that it was now 5:53. Crap! Everyone will be awake soon. I'd best be getting going, you said. You put everything back in the folder and placed it in the drawer, closing it afterwards. You kept the picture of the purple man and put it in your pocket. You wanted to find out what was all in the darkness that surrounded the picture. Deciding that you wouldn't say anything about your discoveries to anyone, you then crawled back through the vent and walked back to your room.